Back to kind of the U.S. jurisdiction, because I agree. I mean, the consistency across jurisdictions is really difficult as we're all trying to figure this out together too. But with digital assets, at least in the U.S., I mean, Dara, how are they truly regulated? And are they subject to different AML CFT controls? Is it different based on the type of currency or what chain it's on?
Sure. Yeah, so I can't speak for other financial regulators, as the financial sector falls under different regulators based on the types of services provided and what risks are being managed, such as safety and soundness. I will say federal regulators are often a floor and not a ceiling, as there are state regulators involved. But in terms of the legal framework for AML CFT in the US, we have fairly good visibility provided by financial institutions. Under the Bank Secrecy Act. We're constantly assessing risks and working with our Treasury colleagues to act on those providing material support to terrorist activities, as we started talking about terrorism. We don't advertise our capabilities, but we work collaboratively in this space across the US government and through public-private partnerships. FinCEN in particular has been at the forefront of regulation as it pertains to supervision of virtual asset service providers. We issued our first guidance on the matter in 2013, ensuring that VASPs in the US undergo compliance examinations, the same as other financial institutions do, and we've been performing those exams since 2014. And we took our first enforcement action in 2015. Earlier this month, I have to give a plug to our $3.4 billion settlement with Binance, which was the largest in US Treasury and FinCEN history. And we're happy to get into it in more detail as this conversation continues, and I think that it will. But in regards to regulation, we regulate the services provided and not particular entities. So that's important to understand, is that we take a technology neutral approach, and that it's about what services are being provided, and does that fall under what we're regulating in terms of money transmission services.
Just to put a really quick point on that, because it is so important. We talk all the time about the need for regulatory clarity and rules of the road in this space. This is the one place, and this is kind of why I love that I get to focus just mostly on illicit finance, is it is clear. This is not the Wild West, right? If you are a cryptocurrency business, and we'll put DeFi aside for a moment because I think we get a lot more complicated there. If you are a large exchange, if you're a broker, if you're a custodian, you are treated as any money service business for purposes of the Bank Secrecy Act, having those AML controls, which means you have to have robust compliance programs. You have to have policies and procedures, use tools like TRM for transaction monitoring, right? You have to have essentially a bank level AML program. It is very, very clear. I host a podcast, and a couple years ago, I said on there, I used the term unregulated VASP. And literally a former colleague who's not on this stage today, texted me live and said, don't ever use that term again. Every VASP is a regulated VASP. So now I use non-compliant VASP to describe that same thing. But it's such a point that I go back to all the time, because this is the one area, thankfully, that's actually pretty clear today. Once we move more into the more and more decentralized space, I think it becomes a lot less clear. But obviously, Treasury is doing a lot of work there as well.